You already know the feeling. You know it, specifically, in your body. Something small happened. Something that, in any other relationship, would have been a minor moment. A question you asked, a comment you made, a boundary you expressed. A moment where you did not perform the role they needed you to play. And what came back at you was completely disproportionate. An intensity of anger that did not match the moment. Something that felt less like conflict and more like a threat. Like the temperature in the room changed in a way that had nothing to do with you and everything to do with you at the same time. If you've been in a relationship with a narcissist, you know exactly what I am describing without me having to use more words than that. This has a clinical name. It is called narcissistic rage, and it is one of the most studied behavioral patterns in the research on narcissistic personality. Studied not because it is rare, but because it is so consistent, so recognizable, and so damaging to the people on the receiving end of it. Narcissistic rage is not the same thing as ordinary anger. That distinction matters. Ordinary anger is a response to a real perceived threat or injustice. It is proportional to the trigger. It is communicable. The person can usually explain why they are angry. And it de-escalates as the trigger resolves. Narcissistic rage has a completely different psychological architecture. It originates not from a real threat, but from what researchers call narcissistic injury. Any perceived challenge to the idealized self-image that the narcissist has constructed and depends on for psychological stability. That idealized self-image cannot tolerate being wrong, being questioned, being seen as ordinary, being held accountable, being overlooked, being challenged by someone they consider beneath them. When any of these things happen, even briefly, even mildly, the self-image experiences something that registers as catastrophic. The rage is the self-image defending itself. This is why the proportionality is so wrong. You did not do something that warranted that response. You did something that threatened a psychological structure you did not even know existed. Narcissistic rage takes 5 main forms. Explosive rage, the most visible version, an eruption of anger that is immediately frightening and hard to miss. Passive rage, withdrawal, cold silence, the silent treatment deployed as punishment. Covert rage, subtle cruelty, undermining comments, the cutting remark delivered with a smile. Displaced rage. The anger is not directed at the actual trigger, but at whoever is available and safe to aim at. And vindictive rage. The slow, patient, calculated response that arrives not in the moment, but later, through reputation damage, social exclusion, or sabotage. The covert and displaced and vindictive forms are the most dangerous because they are the least visible. People experiencing them often doubt whether what is happening is real because it does not look like anger from the outside. What narcissistic rage does to the people around it over time is a documented pattern. Walking on eggshells becomes your baseline state. You develop a constant low-level monitoring of their emotional temperature. You begin to edit yourself before you speak, running every comment through a filter of how they might react, rather than whether it is true or what you actually need to say. That editing process gradually expands until it covers most of your behavior in their presence. The self you present to them becomes smaller and more careful and more managed over time. Not because you chose that, because your nervous system adapted to the environment. What the research supports for staying safe in the moment of narcissistic rage is 3 things. Do not try to explain yourself or justify what triggered them. In the activated state, their capacity to process information is extremely limited, and the attempt to explain will be received as escalation. Create physical distance from the interaction if you safely can. And do not accept responsibility for a reaction you did not cause in order to de-escalate. That last one is the hardest, because it feels like it will help, and in the short term it does. But every time you accept responsibility for their rage, you confirm the narrative that you are the problem. And that confirmation is something they will use again.